Today, Sigma is releasing this 20mm DGDN, which is a full-frame Sony mirrorless lens of their I-series contemporary line. And let me just say this without giving away the review. This lens is amazing, and I am hopefully buying this one in front of me right here. Sigma was generous enough to send me this lens for review, but I like it a whole lot and I don't really want to send it back. So let's get into it by seeing how this thing comes packaged. This 20mm comes in a white Sigma box. Inside there is a user manual and the lens itself. It has a plastic rear lens cap and a plastic front lens cap, but that is not all. Sigma also included a compact metal magnetic front lens cap, which is something that they include on almost every single one of their I series of lenses, which is awesome. It's easy to put on and take off, and it feels exceptionally well made. This lens is the latest from Sigma in their I series of lenses, and it's the first one that I've ever held or used. Now, all of the lenses in this lineup have an all-metal construction and manual aperture control. This lens feels refined in the hand. It's compact yet moderately heavy at 366 grams because of the all-metal build. The design is very modern as well, with some polished metal surfaces and curves and lines in all the right places. Let's start at the rear. Metal lens mount, electronic connections, as this lens has an excellent autofocus system and a little rubber gasket around the mount for moisture and dust resistance. There is an autofocus / manual focus switch that feels about as well built as it can get. Nice and solid action with a white background for AF and black background for MF. There is a little C Contemporary logo here, the lens specs with 62mm filter thread, Sigma logo with a little serial number above it, and all the way around 022, which indicates this lens is a 2022 model. Next up is a perfectly clicky aperture ring. Take a listen to this. It moves from f2 to f22, and then there is a harder click over to A for auto aperture. This is a photographer's dream aperture ring, only bested by Sony's own 20mm f1.8, which has a click on and off switch. I'd always leave it on, so I'm happy with the Sigma. Above this, the lens is made in Japan. Minimum focusing distance is 0.22 of a meter or 0.72 feet. Towards the front, there is a focus ring. Now let me take a moment to discuss this because this lens has excellent autofocus. The fact is, you may never use the manual focus ring. Even knowing this, Sigma has managed to make the best feeling electronic manual focus ring I've ever tested. It makes even my $1,400 Sony 16-55G manual focus ring feel cheap by comparison. It is refined, it is smooth, it has the perfect resistance, it is the most mechanical feeling electronic focus ring I've ever tried. Honestly, it makes you want to shoot this lens manually, it's that good. Around the front, there is a nice convex front lens element, no writing or distractions, although to spice things up, Sigma includes a very nice metal rose petal lens hood that finishes off the look. Inside there are 13 elements in 11 groups, a 9 rounded blade diaphragm, and a silent STM stepping motor autofocus system. It truly is a great looking lens. It looks exceptional on my Sony a7C, but I also have to admit it looks pretty great on my a6100 as well. And since we don't have a good fast 20mm lens for APS-C, I could see a lot of people getting this lens and using it on an APS-C camera. Alright, so recently my wife Lucas and I had a trip planned to visit family in Oregon, but all of this got derailed when I saw an old Lexus pop up on the old interwebs. And this is a personal tidbit of information, but I collect 3 things: lenses, watches, and old Lexuses. I'm not even joking, I have 4 of them parked outside right now. I'm trying to catch up to my wannabe lookalike Hoovie, but he's beat me by a couple dozen cars, I'm sure. Anyway, so I fly out to San Luis Obispo, where this car is located, drive up to Oregon, we spend 2 weeks there, and then the plan was for all of us to drive from Oregon 32 hours, 2,100 miles back home. But my wife, being 7 months pregnant, said she would get too tired sitting in a car for that long, so I ended up making that trip all by myself. Anyway, this was the only camera and lens that I took with me on that trip, and I honestly can tell you there is not a better lens and camera combo that I could have taken with me. All of these shots are from my a7C, straight out of the camera, no editing, no post-processing, ready, set. set the mood with that first shot and some Japanese-inspired musical sounds, because this lens is truly remarkable. Now, for a while now, I have been perfectly happy with the APS-C lineup, in particular because we have so many excellent primes from Sigma. You have the 16mm, the 30mm, the 56mm, all f1.4. You guys have heard all about those lenses if you watch my videos. But right now, our full frame friends are getting what I would consider to be even better primes. All metal construction, aperture rings, autofocus switches, smooth focus rings, weather sealing. I could only wish that one day Sigma will come out with comparable lenses for the APS-C lineup. That would be amazing. Now, according to Sigma, the f2 series of eye lenses have comparable MTF chart performance to their f1.4 art series of lenses, which is pretty insane. The crazy thing about this is that every single one of these lenses that Sigma releases undergoes their very own proprietary MTF measuring system. Each lens is tested, which is why it is very rare to hear about defective Sigma lenses. I've owned dozens of Sigma lenses and I have not had a single one ever come defective or with issues. I can't say the same about some other lens manufacturers out there. Anyway, let's talk about this lens's performance, which is impeccable. Really, there's nothing to complain about. This 20mm is tack sharp, focuses instantly and silently, and never disappoints. The only thing I could really complain about is focus breathing is a bit dramatic, but everything else is just done so well. Chromatic aberration is well controlled, sharpness in the corners is excellent, distortion is minimal, vignetting is almost non-existent. Flare is well controlled with the included lens hood, the colors are vibrant, contrast is high, even wide open. I shot a few hundred photos with this lens over the last 3 weeks and I can come up with maybe 5 total that were out of focus. It's such an easy lens to use for pictures, and the field of view is dramatic and wide but so usable in most any situation. If there was ever one prime lens to have for full frame Sony, 20mm is it. Some may prefer the 24mm, but for me personally, 20mm just gives it that little edge, and because it's so sharp, you can crop in easily if you want to and still retain excellent detail. And did I mention that this lens is sharp? Because it's sharp wide open at f2. That's how I shot everything in this review, apart from some of the landscapes that I shot at f8. At f2, even at 20mm, you get nice creamy bokeh, no distracting nonsense, good subject separation, and it's easy to tell a story with this lens. This lens really is special, and that's why I am buying this one, hopefully, if Sigma will let me. And it also scares me a little bit because there are 6 other lenses in their I series lineup, and if the others are anywhere near as good as this 20mm, between buying old Lexuses and buying lenses and buying baby diapers and cribs and car seats, I will probably be broke for the next couple of months. So if you feel bad for me and you want to buy me a coffee, I'll maybe put a link down in the description below. But if you don't want to frivolously spend your money on supporting this small YouTube channel, then you could use the link down in the description below to pre-order or buy this lens for yourself, and that greatly helps this channel stay online or on the air or on YouTube, wherever you are watching this. The last thing that I'll mention is the price. This thing is $699 with a release date of February 25th, and $699 I think is pretty fair. Sony's 20mm f1.8 comes in at $899, so $900. So this lens is $200 cheaper, and it's all metal versus a plastic build. The only thing that's missing off of this is the D-click little switch for the aperture, but that clicky aperture is pretty awesome on this thing. One day I do want to compare the two lenses, the Sony 20 versus the Sigma 20. I don't have the Sony 20 in my possession currently, but I will maybe do that review. If you guys are interested, let me know. But when I was reviewing that Sony 20mm lens, I liked it a whole lot, but there wasn't that tug of that desire of wanting that lens so badly, such as what I feel with this little Sigma. There's something different about this lens, and I know maybe it's just because I'm a Sigma fanboy. I don't know what it is, but this is an awesome new release from Sigma. So highly recommended. I would definitely encourage you to read more about it. There'll be links down in the description below. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this new lens from Sigma, what you think of the performance, and what you like to collect. Always curious. As always, thank you so much for all of your comments, all of your likes, and your support. Stay tuned for more videos, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.